Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have an extra special video that I'm really excited to dive into because March is Women's History Month and it's a time to honor strength, wisdom, and the resilience of women throughout history. And especially tomorrow, March 8th, is International Women's Day, and it's a global day that uplifts women's achievements and it amplifies our voices and as we continue to fight for the equality we more than deserve. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some history, so to commemorate Women's History Month. It is such a special thing to be a woman, in my opinion, and maybe I'm biased because I am one, but from the women who marched before me and you all for the right to vote in 1913 to the passing of Title IX in 1972, ensuring women's right to education, this month is filled with powerful milestones that have really shaped the world that we live in today. And I know things are quite gloomy, especially here in America. I know that I'm not the only one feeling very unsure and rocky about things, but what I know about myself and what I know about women as a collective as a whole, or people who are women presenting, I want to include everyone in this, but everyone who is female presenting, we are all resilient. And what a better way to celebrate that than through tarot, which is, a tool that reflects the divine feminine in all of its forms. And of course, I want to say that each of us has feminine and masculine qualities. So it's not to dim the light of the masculine aspects of ourselves, but I just wanted to go along with the theme of this month and post a really special video that's close to my heart. So today we're going to be doing a little dive into goddess archetypes of the tarot, exploring the cards that embody that feminine energy, that feminine power, wisdom, that intuition. So grab your favorite deck, let's get cozy. This might be on the longer side because we're going to be honoring the magic of womanhood together, so let's dive right in. Today I will be using my JK Tarot to pull the visual representation of each of the cards I'm going to be talking about. I wanted a classic deck to have that classic imagery, but this is my favorite RWS clone because it's vibrant, has a lot of color, and I don't know, I just think that really suits the vibe I'm going for today. So going along in the tarot, the very first goddess archetype that we come across is the High Priestess. The High Priestess is all about intuition and that inner wisdom, and if it's one thing that I know, female presenting people just have that innate inner wisdom like no other. So the High Priestess sits between the known and the unknown, which is often represented by the two pillars here, and she is the guardian of sacred mysteries. She represents the deep inner knowing that exists beyond logic, the whispers of the subconscious, the dreams that reveal hidden truths to us. She teaches us to trust our intuition, to embrace stillness as she sits here on her throne, and to find strength within silence. And I think that can be really difficult because women, female presenting people, have been faced with silence or being silenced. As someone who is more on the shy, introverted side, there is strength in that silence, and I've really leaned into that personally for myself navigating through life. And the High Priestess reminds us that wisdom is not always spoken with our words. Sometimes it is felt, it is sensed, and it's understood in the quiet spaces between thoughts. And I think that is such a powerful tool. Like, I can't describe the feeling that surges through you when you know your silence is saying more than what your words could ever do. Next in our journey, of course, is, in my opinion, what is often represented as the mother of all mothers, and that is our Empress, our beautiful Empress. The Empress is all about nurturing and creativity and abundance. The Empress is the embodiment of creation in its purest form. She births life and ideas. She births love and abundance. She is the fertile ground that nourishes everything that she touches, whether it's a project that we're working on, a relationship, or self-growth. She invites us to soften, to receive, and to celebrate the beauty of life in all of its forms. The Empress reminds us that true power comes from embracing our cycles, honoring rest as much as we honor action and doing all of the things that us women presenting people have to do in our lives, that intuition is just as important as intellect, and nourishment is just as important as creation. The next goddess archetype that I have pulled along in our journey here is the Strength card. And I think today, out of all of the archetypes that I'm walking through here, this one I think collectively represents women presenting people to me the most, because this couldn't be a more true representation of the experience that women presenting people have gone through before us and what we're going through now and will continue to. Yeah, so let's talk about it. So, strength is about courage and resilience. Strength is not about force, but it's about patience and compassion and the quiet endurance that carries us through life's challenges. And I think that's the piece that I was speaking to earlier. It's about quiet strength, quiet endurance that really sits at the core of us. This archetype reminds us that true power is really rooted in love, in our ability to stand firm yet be gentle, to be fierce yet kind. Strength is the part of us that can tame the inner beast, that leads with her heart rather than dominance. Strength teaches us that resilience doesn't always look like a full on battle and war like it might in the Emperor's realm, but that it can be the grace to keep going, the courage to remain soft even with all of these hard things that are trying to harden us, right? And the wisdom to know when to surrender and when to stand still. Next in our journey, we come across, and I've pulled aside, justice. I think justice often gets overlooked as a goddess archetype, and I thought it was important to highlight justice in that way today. So, justice is about truth and balance and accountability. And justice is the unwavering voice of truth that cuts through illusion with clarity and wisdom. She is the fierce protector of fairness, reminding us that every choice has weight, and integrity is our greatest guide. She does not judge with cruelty, but instead with the deep understanding that truth, though it's sometimes really difficult and painful, is necessary for growth. Justice asks us to examine our lives honestly, to take off those rose colored glasses, to take responsibility for our actions, and to walk the path of self awareness with grace. She teaches us that fairness is not about rigid rules per se, but it's more about understanding the deeper harmony that exists when we live in alignment with our own core values. And much like the High Priestess, if we go back, justice is also seated between two pillars. So I think that's really beautiful, and this is why I wanted to include justice, because there are so many similarities, even down to like there's even a cloth draped in the background, the robes coming down, they're seated. Each of them might be holding something different in their hands because they have different perspectives and they're here to teach us different lessons. But I think the synchronicities here are really beautiful. The next archetype I have pulled out is probably perhaps my favorite and the one that personally resonates with me the most, and that is the star. The star is about hope and healing and inspiration, and she appears to us when the night feels endless, reminding us that light always remains, even within the darkness. She is the promise of renewal, the gentle whisper that healing is not only possible, but it is inevitable. And this archetype invites us to dream, to believe, to realign with our highest selves. She carries that energy of divine inspiration, of trust in the universe again, of knowing that after every storm, after every tower, there's a moment of clarity and peace. The star teaches us that hope is not naive. It is an act of true bravery and a commitment to believing in something greater. I am definitely on the shyer side, so the star feels like a natural connection for me. And I think the piece that really resonates with me the most is that hope is not being naive. I think learning that was like game changing for me in my life. It's actually more brave to have hope and to be resilient and to push forward even after falling and then falling again than anything else. It's not a weakness at all. And once I realized that, I started to step into myself and who I am. And so the star, that's why it's so personally important to me, and I'm feeling a little like emotional talking about it because not only has the star been a moment in my life or a theme in my life, but I truly see the star as me. And I think I've touched on that before. So that's why it was really important to include the star here in my goddess archetypes. Now, with the star, we also have to look at her companion, her opposite companion, the moon. The moon is about cycles and mystery and subconscious power, kind of like our high priestess in a way. And the moon is the sacred unknown, the ebb and flow of emotions, the pull of unseen forces. She teaches us that not everything can or should be understood all at once. Some truths are meant to be felt, to be sat with, to be explored and experienced over time. She reminds us to honor our cycles, to trust in the process of transformation, even though it can feel really overwhelming and scary, and to embrace the shadows as much as we embrace the light. The moon calls to us in a very soft whisper that you are evolving even when you can't see it yet. She calls us to dance with our mysteries rather than to fear them, and to trust that intuition often knows what logic cannot explain. So I also wanted to bring in the High Priestess, and I mentioned her while speaking about the moon because we often are told, or it is known, or we discover that what the High Priestess is hiding from us or concealing from us because we might not be ready is what the moon eventually reveals to us. But the moon reveals it in a way that's kind of similar in intention with the High Priestess, is that we aren't always meant to know. So they both encourage that deep inner knowing and the connection to hidden truths and to trust in intuition over like logic. And they both represent that unseen spiritual power of the subconscious mind. But I think where they are different, and this was an important learning moment for me, is that the High Priestess is very serene. She's composed. She's in control of that intuitive wisdom. And we see that represented very beautifully all the time because she's seated in front of us. She's gazing at us with a measured look. She knows what she knows, and she understands the mysteries, but she does not fear them. But the moon, on the other hand, and the flip side, is more fluid and uncertain. It represents illusion and emotional cycles and the difficulty of discerning truth from fear or fantasy. So, in summary, the High Priestess knows, while the moon questions. And for me, I always thought about, well, why in the tarot do we not switch the order? Why do we not come across the moon first? Why do we come across the High Priestess first? Because to me, I'm like, we all question things. We are all asking, we're all trying to figure out and discern truth from fiction and fear versus fantasy, right? That's what we're trying to do, I think, as we navigate through life. But it's kind of like when you have that wise person, and I'm thinking about when maybe we were all teens, we experienced this, how we heard our parents tell us something or a respected elder tell us something, and it kind of went in one ear and out the other. And until we live that, we don't truly learn the lesson. Them telling us isn't enough sometimes. We have to learn the hard way. So I think when we come across the High Priestess first, she knows what's going to happen. She knows the journey that we've set out on. She knows that it has rough patches. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to always feel like this fluttery fool feeling. And when we get to the moon, when we finally reach the moon, the reason why we're questioning is because we've gone all the way up to the tower and crashed all the way down. And while we might be feeling more hopeful, there's something to finding out the truth that reveals certain things to us, and we can finally have that hindsight and start asking those questions. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about these two together because I know when I first found out that the High Priestess is blocking our view of what eventually we find out is what's going on in the moon card, I really struggled with how to read these two together and what that actually meant. So I hope that provided some clarity, but let's move on to our next archetype. Our last stop in the major arcana for goddess archetypes I have here is the world. And the world is about wholeness and completion and expansion. And the world is the final destination in the fool's journey. It's the moment of realization that everything has come full circle. She is the embodiment of fulfillment, integration, and standing in one's full power. Her archetype reminds us that growth is not linear, and each ending is the beginning of something new, which is so beautiful and a great way to look at life. She encourages us to celebrate how far we've come, to embrace the interconnectedness of all things, and to step into the world with more confidence and wisdom. She tells us that we are ready and invites us to claim our place in the grand picture of life. Now, I know I explored majors, but I don't think that goddess archetypes just stops within the majors. So I have pulled some minor arcana, and the first one that really felt appropriate to include is the Three of Cups. And I think this is a really important message for all of us right now. So the Three of Cups is about sisterhood and celebration and shared joys. The Three of Cups is the power of community, that sacred bond between those who lift each other up. They remind us that strength is not just found in solitude, although it is a foundation for sure. It is time we do need to spend there, but it's also in the joy of shared experiences. And they are the deep belly laughter with friends, the knowing glance between kindred spirits, between best friends, the space where we can be fully seen and supported. This archetype teaches us that celebration is just as important as reflection, and that joy is amplified and multiplied when it is shared. They call us to honor our friendships, to gather in sacred circles, and to remember that connection is part of our healing. And I want to emphasize connection is part of our healing. And oftentimes, and lately, in this world, we are such an individualistic society, and that is a problem, to put it very lightly or to say it very lightly. I think we are just so separate from one another, and we're feeling more lonely now than ever. And that's because no one truly has like that group mentality, that community. And that's why I sought out to create this channel, because I have been lacking that in my own life. Outside of my family, I really don't interact with anyone else. I do have a very dear best friend, but distance is, a hurdle for us. And we talk when we can, but we both have our own busy lives. And the fact that she does not even know that I do tarot. So, not for any bad reasons, but I'm just shy about telling people in my personal life. So when we live in such an individualistic way, it can hinder a lot of that community feel. Nobody's looking out for one another. And I was having this discussion with my partner the other day that truly, if something was to go south, if the world was to be even more flipped upside down, I think about The Walking Dead, the TV show, and how everyone is for themselves and everyone sees everyone else as an enemy. And because yes, we should be wary and we should be protective, but how much more strong could we be if we come together? And throughout that show, you see what happens when that's the case, when people build communities rather than trying to tear them down. I think about this and I'm like, if something were to go wrong, is our neighbor really our friends? Are they really going to support us? Are they really going to give that helping hand? Because at the end of the day, everyone's just looking out for themselves, but we should be looking out for each other collectively. The next archetype I wanted to explore in the minor arcana is the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles is representing self-sufficiency, confidence, and abundance. And she is the woman who has built her own garden, who stands in the beauty of her own creation. She is about independence and self-sufficiency and the quiet confidence, again, that comes from knowing one's worth. She reminds us that success is not just material, even though that's what the Pentacles is about, but that is also found in the richness of self-love and personal growth and inner peace. This is more what the card is about to me than the material richness, but the inner richness. This archetype teaches us to celebrate our own accomplishments, to enjoy the fruits of our labor, and to recognize that true abundance comes from a life well lived, not just a life well earned. She exemplifies elegance and grace and embodies, again, that quiet power. And of course, I couldn't have a goddess archetypes celebration of women presenting people type of video without featuring what I thought of when I first concepted this video. These are the women that really stepped forward for me, and without them, the tarot would not be the same. Of course, There are court ladies, our court queens, and I just want to lay them all out here as a group and go through each one and speak a little bit about them. So our Queen of Pentacles is our Earth Mother. She is stability and nurturing, and she is the grounded, abundant nurturer and the one who creates safety and security, not just for herself, but for those that she loves and cares about. She embodies the phrase, home is where the heart is, which, I don't know, it just makes me smile hearing that, because I often think of home as a person and not a physical place as well. But she offers warmth and stability and that deep connection with the natural world. She reminds us that care isn't just emotional, but it is physical and practical and about sustainability. She is the part of us that finds magic in the mundane, who builds a strong foundation so that we and others may thrive. Next, we have our Queen of Cups, who is our healer, our emotional depth and compassion, and she holds a whole ocean of emotions within her, knowing that feelings are both powerful and sacred. She is the empath of the group. She is the intuitive one. She is the one people go to feel listened to, not just with her ears, but because of her heart. She teaches us that sensitivity is not a weakness, but it's strength. And that deep emotional wisdom allows us to navigate life with grace. And I want to say that when I really learned about using my empathic side, my sensitivity, my emotions as a strength, again, that was a turning point in my own life and navigating through it and understanding myself. So she, along with the star, was an important figure to come across in my studies of tarot and of self-realization. Our Queen of Cups reminds us to care for ourselves as much as we care for others and to honor the waves of our inner world rather than suppressing them. Now we go to our Queen of Swords, the wise woman. Truth and discernment is her realm. She wields her intellect exactly like she holds her blade. She cuts through illusion and seeks only truth. She is clarity, which is sharp yet fair and holds the balance between wisdom and compassion. She reminds us to honor our minds and to speak with intention because our words have power, and we should trust in our ability to make decisions without doubting ourselves. Others might fear her directness, but she understands that honesty, even when it is difficult, because let's be real here, honesty is difficult. It is an act of love, and she gets that. She understands that. That's how she shows her care. She encourages us to step into our own wisdom, to see through the deception, and to claim our voice without apologizing. Yes, without apologizing. And I find that most women presenting people, when we speak, we're like, sorry. We say that a lot. We're very apologetic, and we don't need to be. And I think it's hard because we live in a society that wants that set that precedent. But we're not here to be sorry about our existence, right? We're here to step into our own power and showcase our power and not be sorry for it. And finally, we have our Queen of Wands, which is our visionary, who represents passion and self-sovereignty. So the Queen of Wands, she moves through the world like a wildfire. She is radiant and confident, and she is just magnetic. She is the embodiment of that creative energy, of fearless expression, of knowing's one's worth and embracing it fully. She reminds us to take up space and to lead with passion and to trust in the fire that burns within us. She is not here to be small. Oh no. She is here to create, to inspire, and to walk boldly in her own power. She invites us to do the same, to be unafraid of our own magic, to chase our desires without hesitation, and to shine unapologetically. Our fierce Queen of Wands. So I just didn't want to talk about these archetypes, but I also wanted to invite everyone to work with these archetypes. And a way to do that that feels personal is there are a couple of ways we can journal, do journaling prompts with these archetypes, which of course you know is one of my favorite ways to interact with the tarot. But a good example, and I'll put down our Empress here, when journaling surrounding the Empress archetype and energy, we could write about or answer the question, how can I channel my inner Empress this month, this day, this year? You can enter in whatever time period feels right for you. Or let's say we want to work with her counterpart, the High Priestess. We could do, what wisdom is my High Priestess self trying to share with me? And I like putting ourselves in there as the archetype as well, putting us alongside with the archetype. So I'll repeat that because it's one of my favorite ways to journal with an archetype is to not separate me from the archetype, but put it within me as if it is me. So that journal prompt was, what wisdom is my high priestess self trying to share with me? Another way that you can interact with these archetypes in a more personal way is with meditation or visualization. So, sitting with a card, closing your eyes, and stepping into the scene and feeling what your inner goddess, your inner archetype, represented within that card wants you to know. You don't always have to do a journal prompt and find out the answer, but you can do a meditation with the cards. And I think that is a great way to like really step with the archetype and go into their world. And they can show you so much more than perhaps what they can show you sometimes just by journaling on paper. And of course, the final way that you can connect that I have for this video today is through your tarot practice. So pull a card. You could pull a card to guide you in embodying your feminine energy this month. The more we engage with these archetypes, the more we integrate their wisdom into our lives. So you can set aside cards like I did, and you can shuffle through them and just ask, like, which archetype am I needing to spend some time with this month, and pull that card and really focus in on it. I think that's a beautiful way to reconnect with your feminine side or your goddess side, or however you want to word it. It's very personal to you. Okay, and the final part of our video here, I thought it would be fun to do a mini pick a card reading with some of the goddess archetypes from this video. Each pile is connected to a different goddess archetype, so take a deep breath, get grounded, and choose the pile that you're most drawn to, and we'll see what energy you're stepping into this month represented by these archetypes. And for those who like to pick a pile with a crystal on top, I have amethyst for the first pile. I have an ammonite for the second pile. A piece of blue calcite for the third pile. And petrified wood for pile 4. So I will give you all a moment to make your selections, and the timestamps will be listed below. Okay, pile 1. So I have used the JK Tarot and my Nosotras Tarot, which is very fitting because this deck was purposefully created to feature all female presenting figures as a statement to the creator's country. So I thought this was the perfect deck to go along with the reading. So the archetype that you picked, which was with the amethyst group here, which we'll set right there, is our Queen of Pentacles. So what message does the Queen of Pentacles have for you? We have 7 of Wands, another Queen of Pentacles, ooh, and the Devil. Okay, so what I'm getting for you, pile 1 here, is there is a journey of resilience. I think that's been going on. And we really need to work to break free from those limitations. And to do that, we'll use the Queen of Pentacles energy and what she stands for. And I think that's important because it's affirming that the Queen of Pentacles is the type of energy you should embody as you work through these things, because there's 2 of them, they're doubled here. And so the 7 of Wands specifically, I feel, speaks to standing your ground. You've had to be maybe a little defensive in a way. And there may be external pressures or maybe some internal doubts that is challenging your sense of stability and worth. And I think this card should encourage you to be persistent in upholding your values making sure you're setting very clear boundaries, like draw that line. And also within that, though, not forgetting that self-care aspect. I know we are, and I'd say that because we are talking about or keeping in mind the Queen of Pentacles, her archetype and energy. And to me, Queen of Pentacles is a lot about self-care. So while we're fighting a good fight, we need to remember to take some time for ourselves and to really nurture ourselves, and reminding you that true abundance comes from balance. So that's caring for not only your like material world, right? But your inner world and your well-being. So lean into that ability to create some security and cultivate that sense of personal empowerment. And you can use that fire you've been feeling to do so. And the devil here, don't be scared or nervous about the devil appearing, but the devil highlights like potential unhealthy attachments, and perhaps maybe that's why you're feeling defensive or a little stuck lately. So that could be a limiting belief that maybe you or other people are putting upon you. It could be toxic cycles, or those like I said, external like expectations in a way. So the devil here is saying, recognize what is keeping you stuck, and in this energy a little bit, to help you reclaim your power over it. Because, yeah, I'm just getting like a huge sense of feeling stuck. Like you've been stuck here defending yourself for so long and you're starting to get a little tired, and you don't know what to do. But let's go back to setting that clear boundary. Draw it in the sand and use your voice to do so, but say it in like a very tactful, respectful way. I think setting clear boundaries will definitely help you. So thank you, pile 1. All right, pile 2, if you chose pile 2 with the Ammonite, this is your message. And our archetype is the Queen of Wands. Awesome. So our Queen of Wands is going to be that energy, that archetype, kind of overseeing this reading, and the energy we need to refer back to as far as like advice and moving forward. So we have the Nine of Wands. We have the Eight of Cups. And we have the Two of Swords. Very interesting. Okay, so overall, right now, I'm getting this feeling of like inner strength. There's some decision making and like a transformation like going on. So let's dive a little bit more into that. So the Nine of Wands is about perseverance despite the challenges that you're facing, despite feeling tired and exhausted. You've been through a lot lately, but you're still standing strong. I sense a like this. When am I going to get some rest? When will this stuff just stop? Like all this crap. When will it stop? That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. So there's that sense of grit, but it needs to be paired with resilience. Even if you are feeling tired or worn down, the Queen of Wands energy calls you to continue to push forward because you have that inner fire, you have that inner courage and inner strength. It is there. It might be a smaller flame right now, but it's still there. So keep going. And what might be making it feel exhausting is there's some cups energy here with the Eight of Cups, and that feeling of needing to leave something behind. It could be an unfulfilling situation. It could be like a stagnant path, maybe. Maybe there's some emotional baggage that you've continued to carry. So the Eight of Cups invites you to try to step away from what no longer serves you and trust that new opportunities are awaiting you. And I feel like when you emotionally let go of that, this card here that's been carrying all that weight, some of that, you're going to be able to lay some of those sticks down, some of those wands down, and you're going to be able to take a step forward that's a little bit lighter and a little bit more manageable for you. And the Two of Swords here definitely builds upon this message of the Eight of Cups, which is there's definitely a decision at hand going on. It feels like you could be torn between two options or maybe more, and there is a need to trust your intuition and take a stand, even if the path forward feels unclear, because these people are blindfolded, so it might feel a little strange taking a step when you're feeling like you can't see, but trust that intuition, trust yourself, and trust that you will find your footing. You will know what to do, you will know how to keep moving forward, even when it feels scary or like you won't. And to tie it back into the Queen of Wands, she embodies the power of clarity and courage to make bold choices. So really lean into that Queen of Wands energy, or even perhaps there is someone you know in your life that kind of exemplifies the Queen of Wands. Maybe talk to them and tell them what's going on. And they might be able to help you feel a little bit more confident about taking that step and making that decision. So you've been through some challenges lately, but the Queen of Wands is here to remind you that you have the strength, you have the firepower to move past them and to trust yourself as you make the decision to leave behind what is no longer serving you. And know that you have the resilience to take those next steps. You do. I promise. Okay, pile 3, you chose the blue calcite. And the archetype we are working with is the Queen of Swords. Okay, so let's see what our other cards are. We have the Queen of Swords, the Moon, and the Tower. So what I'm getting here right off the jump is there's a moment of clarity and illumination that's needed to help us break away from illusions here, pile 3. And we're going to do that by embodying the Queen of Swords, which is super confirmed here by another Queen of Swords in the spread. So let's go ahead and start there and talk about the Queen of Swords. So the Queen embodies that clarity and discernment and wisdom. And I feel like that you are being called out to cut through some confusion and face the truth, even though that is the difficult part, right? I think the Queen is inviting you to lean on intellect and logic to approach and navigate these challenges. And the Moon here is bringing forward some maybe hidden truths that are feeling uncomfortable. Maybe everything is not as it seems lately, and perhaps you're dealing with fears or maybe even subconscious influences that are definitely clouding your judgment. So in order to feel a little bit more clear, we need to tap into that power of the Queen of Swords. She is the ultimate remedy here for you, pile 3. She's encouraging you to face these uncertainties more head on, and to trust your inner wisdom. And the Tower is signifying a sudden shift, or maybe an awakening, perhaps. Maybe something in your life is going to be broken down in order to make way for some clarity and some truth here. It's a powerful moment of release, and outdated structures or those illusions that you might be facing here with the Moon are going to crumble, and you're going to need your integrity and your wisdom and your intellect to help you navigate through those and sift through the rubble, because that will lead you to that true transformation that your life is needing. Just know that the Queen of Swords is here to guide you, and trust that any chaos or sudden swift changes are revealing those hidden truths that will ultimately bring forward that clarity and that liberation. So embrace the shift with a clear mind and know that this is a time of powerful transformation, and not to run away from that, just to face it head on like the Queen of Swords would. Okay, pile 4, you chose petrified wood. And your overarching goddess archetype leading us through this mini reading here is the Queen of Cups. All right, so let's see what we have. We have the Page of Swords, the Nine of Pentacles, And we have the King of Cups. So I'm feeling that there is a balance of emotional wisdom and perhaps some open communication that we need to talk about. So let's start off here with the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords represents that curiosity and communication and those new insights. This card could indicate a time pile for you to gain clarity, to ask questions, to seek out the truth. It encourages you to approach a specific situation or going forward any situation with a sharp mind, but an open heart at the same time, especially in relation to emotional or even practical matters. So we need to remember that the page, while it is connected here with the sword suit, which is that air, that communication, that wit, that the page is still very explorative and curious. And this page asks us to seek that inner truth. And the Nine of Pentacles, I think, is speaking to the self-sufficiency, maybe some independence. Maybe there was a personal accomplishment you recently went through. Maybe you're in a phase in your life where you might be feeling a little bit more secure and empowered in your own energy. And again, that could tie into achieving some personal milestones. And so the Queen of Cups here overseeing us, or overseeing this group, invites you to honor and nurture this sense of independence, right? And I think the page is also very independent in nature. So nurture this sense of independence that's coming forward for you, but remain emotionally more connected to others. And this is a great card because it also has two people, whereas we normally see the nine only having one person. So I think that calls to the Queen of Cups, that connection, that emotional connection we might have with others. I think it speaks to that and nurturing that part of ourselves and including others in that. And then the King of Cups here, and it's really great that we see both the Queen and King. I think that's a great balance. But the King embodies that emotional mastery and maturity. So this card could be highlighting the importance of balancing the emotional depths with wisdom, and that you're being encouraged to maybe approach emotional situations with a calm, compassionate demeanor and holding space again for others while you maintain maybe some emotional boundaries. We can't forget about having healthy boundaries set in place. So you are in a powerful place here to be able to connect with your emotional intuition and your intellectual clarity. The Queen of Cups is encouraging you to balance that emotional depth with wisdom, as highlighted here by the King of Cups. And as you navigate your own independence and your own growth, trust that you have the strength to master those emotions and approach all situations with both heart and mind together in harmony. So whether you are connected to the wisdom of the High Priestess or the nurturing spirit of the Empress, or perhaps even the fierce independence of the Queen of Swords, know that at all times this energy lives within you. I think that's important to know and to remember. And tarot is such a beautiful way to explore and celebrate feminine energy in all of its forms, right? And let me know in the comments which goddess archetype or maybe more feminine tarot archetype that you feel most connected to right now. And thank you guys so much for joining me. Again, happy Women's History Month, happy International Women's Day for tomorrow. And until next time, see you around.